All right, welcome to one of the first CAD videos that we have. Typically, I usually just do these for some labs or some exercises, but I thought this would be a really helpful thing to explore. One of the first things that I think students get or have a little bit of difficulty with. And so here's a basic drawing. It's just a rectangle and a circle. And when you submit an assignment or when you submit in a lab or a midterm, you're always going to be submitting a DWG file and a PDF file. So the first one is, it's exactly what you see. It's what you manipulate, it's what you draw on, it's this exact interface. And so you get that, you do File, Save As, and you give it a name. So all our names in this class are your full name. So mine would be Joshua Denholtz, and then you do an underscore, and then if it's a lab, you call the lab with the lab number. If it's an assignment, you call it an assignment with the assignment number. And the longer class period is going to be your lab class. The shorter class period is your assignment class. So let's say this is lab 1. We would call it lab 1. And then underscore, you usually write what problem number it is. And so let's say this is the second problem. I'm going to call it problem 2. So that's the name of this. And you can see here that it's giving it the extension of .dwg. So I save that. It's saved. That is one of the first submissions you have, but there's a second submission. The second one is not something that can be manipulated like this. I can manipulate this. I can go here. I can, add different shapes and drawings to it. Of course, I don't want to do that right now. And you want to have a professional looking picture, which you can print out and give to a client, your supervisor, or someone else with a hand copy. And that's really what you're going to be graded on more so. So typically I only go into the DWG files if I need to get more of an understanding of what you were doing, if there wasn't something very clear in the PDF file. So now I need to show you how to save it as a PDF file, and it's not so simple. You can't just go to File, Save As, the way we did with the drawing file. So for this, you go to Output. So where's Output? Output's over here. Click Output, and then you go to Plot. Now there's a whole bunch of options. The first thing that you're going to do is you want to do Microsoft Print to PDF. So there it is, Microsoft Print to PDF, and that's in printer/plotter. Now there's a whole bunch of stuff that you can manipulate. I really want you to just focus on the bottom left corner, which is plot area, and I guess we could take a little bit of a look at plot offset as well. So firstly, I'm going to try this preview button. Let's see what the preview button does. So firstly, it shows the drawing here. It's this is in fact a PDF. If we were to save it, you would get something that looks like this. If you are on the CCM computer, you shouldn't get this message here. If you are using a student version, though, you will get something like this. That's okay. I don't take points off if you're using a student version. But here we could see this. This is in fact pretty small, and it's also off-centered. Now later in the class, you're going to have objects that have a lot more relevant features, and you're going to need your drawing to be nice and large and easily readable. Now, you're also going to want it centered because you're going to have dimensions on all different sides. But for now, we want to make sure that this is nice, large, and centered. So clearly, the setup that we have isn't sufficient for what we want. So I'm going to click this X button. I'm going to go back here to the dialog box. Now, what this does, when it says what to plot, that is when it's set as display, it's literally what you see. So if I were to zoom out and do the same thing, let's see what that does. So here, if I preview that, now it's really, really small. So you might think to yourself, okay, well, let's just get in a situation where the display is nice and large, and that certainly is an option. So let's give this one a try. So here though, it's actually not coming out that large. Sometimes it's hard to size what the screen is that they consider the full screen of your display. Additionally, it's not centered. So one thing that you could do to center it is you can hit center the plot, and that will easily center it. Now it seems off center on the horizontal axis. It's possible that when I drew that long line, that maybe I didn't fully delete a point or something out in space, and so it believes this is centered. So we're still not really getting to a perfect drawing. Let's take a look at another option here. Extents is another option. And so what that does is it shows the full extents of the object. Now this is very large, this is centered. The only problem with this is there's actually no room on the edges for us to dimension it. We don't actually want it to take up the entire paper, because what if I want to dimension this side outside of the object? I can't. And so the best option that I think is to actually use the window option. So let's try that out. So if I were to click preview, let's go back to the flip. Yeah, so sometimes it just switches back. I think sometimes when it has center of the plot, it switches back. So let's go to window. I did it again. All right, window. You literally click the first corner of a window, and then you click the second corner of a window. Now, you don't have to have your object perfectly centered, but it should look pretty centered, and I can eyeball this and see it's pretty good. So now, let's see our preview, and this is perfect. This is exactly what you want to see. There's a little bit of space on the sides to add dimensions, but it's nice, large, and centered. So once I'm happy with that, then I go over here, I hit OK, and I can do the same thing. Name underscore lab 1, and what do we call this? We call this problem 2. So problem 2. There you have it. And that's how you save both a drawing file and a PDF file. Both of them should be submitted on your assignments, on your labs, tests. Everything should have both the drawing file and the PDF file.